Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint. You'll find aisles and aisles of scale model kits, RC models, model rockets, Warhammer gaming, and railroading products. Stop in at Ryder's today and tell them Doug sent you.
This review covers the 1978 GMC Big Game Country Pickup Kit. It's kit number 857226 in the current catalog from Revell. Now, it's been out in multiple box arts and various versions, and the latest was the snowplow truck. And there's different copyrights on the parts dating from 78 onward. Now, this is a skill level 4 kit for the intermediate to advanced builder. It has 104 parts and requires paint and glue. The parts are molded in white, clear chrome, and include soft rubber tires. The decals are a multicolor camo scheme, and that's what constitutes the need for skill here. They also include dash decals, but there's no stock decals for the model. The instructions are the typical book format. They're well laid out, easy to follow instructions, and when you're done, the length is about 8 1/4 by 4 1/4, and it's about 5 1/4 inches high. Here's the layout of this kit, and you can see the parts clearly, and some people would call this an open box review, but they'd pick up each part or sprue and try and describe it if they could find the words. But my open box review will take you about 5 seconds to see all the parts. They don't help much just talking about parts, so we're going to help you by showing you how to build this model and letting you know if there's any places you need to make adjustments or avoid difficulties. You can find that we'll be using mostly Model Master liquid cement, sometimes some super glue for strength for fragile parts, and also some white glue or crystal clear glue for any of the window or glass parts that are in the kit. Also remember to follow any of the manufacturer's safety and use guidelines when using any of the products that you see or hear mentioned in the review. Here are the decals for this kit. As you can see, the register is good on them and they're very colorful, but some of them are pretty large, and I really recommend that you use some of the aftermarket products to help set the decals known as setting solutions, and make sure they conform to contours on the body. Construction starts with the motor, and we're going to pre-construct some parts prior to paint. So you can put together the block, the heads, and the front of the engine. And if you use the stock valve covers, you can add those. You can see them pointed out here in the slide. And the motor and the bell housing is orange with a steel transmission. And then on the block, paint the starter black and the oil filter white. The belts and the fan are flat black, and the alternator is aluminum and the distributor is tan color. So the exhaust manifolds, of course, steel color, and then assemble the motor completely. Gather these parts from the kit to assemble the front and rear suspension. Put those together and add the skid plates. Add all the suspension parts together into place except for the shocks. And paint the frame unit a flat black when that's done. And then the shocks are painted white with red boots to replicate the Rough Country brand shocks. So go ahead and put those into place too, and then the transfer case is assembled and painted steel. Install that and the motor. Now, remember to scrape off any paint, or chrome for that matter, when you glue joints together to make sure you get a good bond. The exhaust now is steel color and aluminum, and then add that winch into place inside the skid plate. At this point, I decided to deviate a little bit from the kit's parts by adding a special aftermarket set of tires. Here are the kit's parts, and they're actually not a bad units. They're just a little bigger than I was looking for. So I bought a set of KMC wheels on Wrangler MTR tires from Fireball Model Works. And I thought that these were a nicer looking set. Not to take away from the kit's units, they'll work just perfectly fine. But as you can see here, these turned out very well. You paint the rims black and then install them into the tires. And since these are a direct replacement fit to the axles, I just slid the front onto the front and the back to the back, and then leaving a rolling chassis ready for more steps of the build. So here's a side-by-side look at it. Of course, the aftermarket tires from Fireball Model Works are installed there. You can see the shocks pointing towards the axle. And then the kit tires right in front of that, you can see it has a chrome wheel, and it's much bigger. So if you like big tires, use the kit's tires. Otherwise, you can look for some aftermarket products to enhance the look for your purposes. Grab the parts for the interior, and since I'm doing the camo look with the greens, I decided to paint mine in a tan color. So go ahead and paint the interior tub, and there's no panel details. So paint the dash and add the decals and the details that are available there. Install the CB unit, the column and the wheel, and then install the dash. And the 4x4 shifters painted flat black and installed too. Next, we'll gather up these parts to get the body ready for paint. The cab and the bed can be assembled, and the options need to be chosen at this time as well. So the options include the sunroof that goes in to the roof of the cab, and there's a cutout there that's indented on the inside of the cab roof, and you'll need to remove that for the sunroof. There's also indents for the steps, and so those would need to be removed as well to install the steps. And if you use the roll bar, you'll have to use the point of your hobby knife or a drill to remove the holes and get them ready in the bottom of the bed to receive the roll bar. So using the parts that you've gathered up, assemble the bed's sides and add the tailgate so that it will open and close, and then add the back to the cab and the radiator to the front section. As you can see here, there's a simplified door handle that I decided to remove and also buy a set of the aftermarket product from Fireball Model Works to add a more detailed door handles to the kit. Now you'll need to start preparing the body, sanding it with some light sandpaper, 8 to 1000 grit, wet or dry, to look for blemishes, etc., like the one found here at the rear of the quarter panels. You're going to want to sand those smooth and any other imperfections that you find to get it ready for paint. Once all the body work and repairs that you deem necessary are finished, you're ready to prime the body, and use a good quality primer inside and out to give it a good even coat and base for your paint. Once the primer is dry, go ahead and give it another light sanding with fine sandpaper and remove any blemishes and smooth out the surfaces. Rinse and let air dry, and then you can go ahead and start prepping and painting your base coat. In my case, I used an olive drab green for the base to complement the camo decals. Now once again, the decals will be one of the most challenging parts of this build, so make sure that you have plenty of warm water, and if it cools off during the process, refill it with some more warm water, and then use it on the body and to soften up the decals. And once in place, you can start preparing and using the decal setting solutions to help it conform to contours and stick well to the body. After the decals have dried overnight, you can give the body a clear coat to seal them into position. Here are those aftermarket door handles I mentioned. As you can see, they're much more detailed and accurate than the kit's units, but if you bought those, go ahead and install those at this time too. Go ahead and install the windows at this time using some white glue or some of the crystal clear product, and those go on from the inside, so let those set and dry. Well, this is a high country kit, so you get an optional gun rack if you want to add it to your back window. Paint the gun stocks wood tone and steel barrels with a black rack. Now the fan shroud is flat black, and that gets installed now too. And install the interior at this time as well. Look for some good glue locating points and add some good epoxy or good strength glue to make sure it stays in position. I had decided that this was going to be an example of a truck that you'd use to go hunting with, so I wanted no chrome on it to flash and cause glare that would alert the wily game out there as I was driving through. So I blacked out the bumper grill and the mirrors, removing the chrome, and then the radiator hose is rubber with a steel thermostat, and the push bumper is a flat black. And you can remove the chrome in a number of ways, either with a bleach bath or just by sanding it off. But either way, I needed to get rid of that chrome for this example. Now, to give the grill a more realistic appearance, I used a Dremel tool to carefully grind away the backside of the grill to remove the inner panels and leave openings there just like on the real truck. On the backside then, I filled that with a piece of scale screen, and it'll give you a nice finished look. You just glue that into place on the backside for a grill looking appearance. Now we can finish the motor by adding the radiator hose into place there. You can see where that goes, and the grill, the bumper, and the push bumper are installed, and the headlights are installed as well as the mirrors into place. And the marker lights are painted a clear orange as normal markers would be. For a personalized touch, I decided to make a license tag out of my logo and put it on a piece of white paper, just plain paper, from an inkjet printer that's scaled to fit as a license plate. Then I cut it out and covered it up with some clear tape and glued it to the front bumper. I did the same thing in the rear, and in the final steps I added the roll bar with the spotlights and the rear bumper there, and then the tail lights, they're clear red with white as the backup light section, and then add the CB antenna. Now the gas can is painted red with a black strap and set into the bed for effect. As with many kits, there will be some pieces left that you don't use, and those can get retired to your spare parts boxes. And also the tires here that I didn't use, I'll find another use for those on a different kit. Well, there you have it. The fit isn't perfect, and it's not exactly the best detailed kit, but you know what? These old GMC trucks are workhorses out in the field, and they're also great staples for the model builder because there's so many different variations that you can use them for. And thanks to Revell for bringing out and keeping this one alive because it's so adaptable. And with this custom release with all of the great looking camo decals, even somebody like me can come up with a really good-looking, head-turning, big country truck to put on his shelf. So if I were you, I'd buy one and build it and do the same thing. I hope you liked this premium model kit review, and so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But you can find us on Facebook and our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks!